trade that happened a couple days ago, and that was, of course, the Trailblazers acquiring Eric Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, and Justin Winslow in exchange for Norman Powell and Robert Covington. I know that this isn't really like the biggest thing that's been breaking so far, but this is one of the bigger trades. And I just want to get your opinion on this trade, Tyrese, before I get going. What did you make of this trade for both teams, the Clippers and the Blazers?
Well, I think I think this trade really helped out the Clippers a lot. I think with Robert Covington being a vet, he's not too much of a player that needs the ball in his hands. I think they can benefit a lot from that. And I think the big guy out of this is Norman Powell. I mean, almost
Mm-hmm.
19 points a game. Pretty much like a homecoming team for him. I think the Clippers. I don't know, man. I have a feeling that trade it can get them pretty scary, man. Like it kind of gives me that feel. I think when they were in 2019, when they just
Mm-hmm.
had a whole bunch of players, when Kawhi went down, they just started playing, and then they were not. I think they were winning games in the playoffs too. So I think um, I think that trade is very big for the Clippers. Depending on if they get Kawhi back, they can make a
Mm-hmm.
deep run in the playoffs. But um, I like it. And as far as for the Blazers, I just think they're I mean, Keon Johnson. I mean, Justice Winslow and Eric Bledsoe. I mean, it's just that a couple of that guys
Mm-hmm.
that they can potentially get, but I think they're more like trade assets at this point because I think Damian Lillard is going to be out of there. CJ McCollum is going to try to package him. So
Yeah.
I don't. Some of these, couple of these guys, if not all of them, might be shipped out of there by wins. So, but as far as for the Clippers, I think that it benefits them big, man. I think they can make a deep run. They've been playing pretty good ball. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I think this is a trade that kind of went under the radar. I think with Norman Powell there, they got a lot of guys playing there. Marcus Morris, Reggie
Mm-hmm.
Jackson. Uh, who else they got up in there? Terrence Mann, Norman Powell now, Robert. Yeah, they got some guys who can play defense, and they're going to be playing bully ball, man. They're going to be a team in the West where it's like they can knock you out, and maybe in the first round, maybe if you're not on your toes.
Yeah.
Um, that's the kind of feel I'm getting with this team right now with those two pieces they get. So, what is your
Mm-hmm.
opinion on it?
I mean, I think you're right, Tyrese. Like the biggest thing that I noticed from this trade is that the Clippers are obviously in win now mode, and it makes sense because you don't want to pay the luxury tax for a team that is gonna not make the playoffs. I mean, right now they're the eighth seed in the West, and you have to do everything
Mm-hmm.
you can to not try to pay a luxury tax, and you're not in the playoffs. Like I just don't see any coach or any owner, sorry, more so owner, paying that much money for a team that's not going to be very good. And I think this is a move for the
Right.
future for the Clippers. I mean, you could see it in the way that they are investing in two role players that are very good, and are going to do a great job uh, for the Clippers once Kawhi Leonard and Paul George gets back, especially because those two have been the forefront of kind of all the minutes that they've been playing and doing all these things for the Clippers, and it just seems like they needed a couple extra pieces to get them going. Plus, you don't know what Nick Batum's going to do because he's going to be a free agent coming up soon.
Right.
So it's like this move makes a perfect sense for the Clippers to make, and for some reason the Blazers sold, and I just think it kind of goes to show that the Blazers have just officially kind of given up on this team. And I do expect
Mm-hmm.
a guy like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who I've been hearing rumors about, could be going on the way out for both those guys, and it makes sense because you don't
Yeah.
want to pay that much money as the Blazers for a team that you just feel like isn't going to get up to snuff. I mean, Lillard
Going.
hasn't. Exactly, and Lillard hasn't really done as much as he would like to this season. I just thinks it makes sense. I think he officially requested a trade, if I'm not mistaken, or that's the rumors going around the league right now. And it makes sense, man. It makes sense why he would want out. And McCollum also another kind of key role player that you can get some good picks for. And then I think the Blazers have a nice player in Anthony Simons to kind of build for the future and build around
Yeah.
that kid. And I just think that's where they're going instead of trying to compete for the seventh, eighth seed and try to make a surprise run, which I think it's unlikely for that team.
Yeah, I agree. Like you say, I think it's just pointless for them to try to go over the luxury tax, man. Just pay over so much capital more than they have. to just surprise. Like
Hmm.
they're too late in their careers, like they're over 30. Like it's like that window closed about 2 or 3 years ago. If you were here just trying to get some key role players in and go win, it's just looking more like trade chips at this point. Just to,
Yeah.
get some things around for the salary um, when they do make some trades, either in 3 days or
Hmm.
summer. But yeah, like I agree. Like it just doesn't make any sense for them at this point to hang on to Robert Covington and Norman. They were going to be out of there anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you might get some value for them, right, before they get hurt, stuff
Hmm.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like to PM's point, saying it felt like the Blazers sold low. I mean, they had to because I don't think there was any real moves that they could make. I mean, they were just stuck with those guys, and if they really wanted to sell them, they should have sold them at the beginning of the season when I think the buying was high for those two guys. I still think they're really good role players. I don't understand why a lot of people haven't been going in for them, especially for what the Trailblazers got. I think Keon Johnson, kind of a young player that they can look at. I mean, if I was them, I would have tried to take a look at Brandon Boston Jr., but he might have been the same type of player that Anthony Simons is, and maybe that's why they didn't try to go for him. But we're gonna look at this whole situation in the future and just think like, did the Clippers make the right move, or was it the Blazers making the right choice by blowing up this team? Because to be honest with you, Tyrese, I think this Clippers team, or sorry, not this Clippers, this Blazers team is going to be in some real deep trouble going to the future, seeing that they still haven't developed any of their guys yet. They still seem to be very trying to think of the right word, but I don't necessarily, unless they're going to try to go for one of these young players coming up in this upcoming draft, like a Chet or Apollo or Jabari Smith. Or even the kid AJ Griffin from Duke. There's a lot of kids that they could go after to kind of build around Simons, and I just think that that's really where they're going to go with it. But it depends on how low they can get in the draft order in order to get those guys that they want. Maybe Amari Bailey in 2 years, or whatever else
Yeah.
they're trying to go for.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to blow this whole Blazers team up. I think even Anthony Simmons, uh, he could be even on the trade it this summer. I think they just have to start fresh. I mean, Simmons is a very talented player, but he's just going to be in another Dame situation, right, for another 8 years when he turns 30.
Hmm.
Get inside the playoffs, bounce out, and I think they're just going to clean the whole slate. They're going to ship everyone out, and just try to get. They're going to try to go the OKC route and just get a whole bunch of draft picks. I think because at this point it's kind of like they're not really a big free agency destination as far as the market. I mean, they're close to Seattle or Washington, but it's not quite like that. And
Yeah.
then two, it's kind of like who no one's going to want to sign there as a free agent. And now that Dame has lost trust kind of in the organization,
Hmm.
no big player is going to want to come there and team up with them. I think it's over for them. They had the run for the last five
Yeah.
years. They couldn't get it done. And,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we look at where they're standing right now. They're the 10th seed. They would be in the playing game, but they're only one game ahead of the Pelicans, the Spurs, and the Kings at this moment. And if any of those any of those couple teams can make a run at it, I mean, they can. I certainly think the Spurs could. Um, and I
and
just feel
it's
like,
kind of a shame, right? Because, like, I don't know, they have Nurkic and they have Dame, they have CJ, they have Hassan, they had Norman Powell for almost 20 mates, and they're still down there with the Kings as a record.
hmm,
It's kind of a shame. Like,
yeah,
it's not like they have unexperienced guys, man. They got guys who are vets.
yeah,
I'm kind of
uh,
like when they got Chauncey. When they got Chauncey, that kind of just told me. I don't know if you remember me telling you this, that they're in rebuild because you don't you don't go after a guy who's never coached before, right? And you,
hmm,
you roll the dice hoping he can get you to the playoffs.
yeah.
What veteran guy?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
good.
I agree with you, man. It's kind of sad to see that the Trailblazers have gone this route. I think PM is a big Trailblazers fan. I'm sure he feels disappointed with the way that this Trailblazers team just couldn't necessarily get the right pieces around Dame and CJ. And we've talked about it before on the show many years, kind of heading into this final topic of just trying to rebuild and retool. But let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this? Are you guys a big fan of this, or do you guys think that the time is done for the Portland Trailblazers?